Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always. I received the reason why I'm doing this is because I received a request to do an alternate version of the proposal. This would be the version where Cove proposes to us instead of us proposing to him. So, I had to skim through it a while back to see if it was possible. And yeah, it is possible. So we have to start right here. Let's get this full screen here. Now, if I were to pick this one right here, that would be me doing the proposal. That would lead to me doing the proposal. So, we have to pick this one. It was a beautiful thing. Okay, get comfortable here. Make sure this thing is working actually. Alright. Test, test, test. Yep. Okay. Reason why I did that is because yesterday I tried to record this and for some reason the mic wasn't working or the sound system wasn't working for the mic or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, before I get started, I want to thank all 58 of my subscribers. I have 58 subscribers now. I want to thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. If you really appreciate what I do to you, you really like what I do recording these videos for you, I would appreciate it if you could go to my Patreon account and become a Patreon contributor. All the money that goes there goes directly to worthy charity. I don't see a penny of it. It just goes directly to charity. I don't get any of it. And to tell you the truth, I really don't need it. So it just the reason why I'm doing this is to raise money for charity through the Patreon. And so that the money would go directly to worthy charity. So if you do that, you would be coming. You would be definitely helping out the definitely helping out the community at large that of charities that need this need the funds. You know. So you would be really doing a good thing, and you can find the link to my Patreon account within the description area just below the video. So, with that in mind, let's get started. You wouldn't give up a single second of your time with Cove. Meeting him there, you were looking forward to how today's chapter would unfold. Cove stood up to his old front door, casually flung it open without bothering to knock once again. You followed at his side as he poked his head in. You closed the door behind you both. Hello. You found Cliff and Kara in the kitchen getting breakfast ready. Kara was cutting an apple while Cliff was watching a frying pan sizzle. Cole's parents waved from across the room, not straying from their task. Good morning, you two. Yeah, morning and hello to you. To you. I hope you slept well.
Thanks.
Thanks for swinging by. You're more than welcome to join us for breakfast here, if you haven't already eaten, of course. We haven't yet, though even if we had, there's always room for more. Kara chuckled. She put down the knife she had in her hand so that all her attention could be on her son. You're still my giant growing baby boy. Mom, please. Kara didn't pay Cove's whining any mind. Instead, she put a finger up to her lip as she thought as she thought, her eyes on you, and then glimpsing towards a window.
What do you think?
I wonder, do you think your family's eaten yet, Chippy? No clue. I haven't checked in with them yet. You got to be the first stop. Your eyes flicked over to the clock on their oven. Given the time, your moms may have eaten, or they could be having a slower morning. It was a coin toss either way. Well, give them a call. They could come over. Cove nodded, a sage expression on his face. Making them breakfast is the least we could do after how much food I ate at their house growing up.
Right.
True, bud. Very true. All right. You took out your phone even though your moms both had cells for years. The house number was the one that you had memorized as a kid and the first entry on your contacts list. As the call connected, you tapped the speaker button. You figured it would be easier if everyone could hear what was going on. You heard a click and a familiar static.
Hello.
Hello, Chippy. Hello, Chippy. It's nice to hear from you. Hey, Ma, guess who's currently across the street in a kitchen full of food and an invitation to share said food? You waited a beat. It's me. I'm at the Holdens and they wanted to invite you and everyone over to eat with us. What do you say? That sounds delightful. Pamela and I can do that. Liz and Lee should be able to make it too. Would that be fine? Cliff took a step forward and spoke loudly so that his voice would be picked up. It definitely would be. The more the merrier.
Marvelous.
We may have gotten together for dinner last night, but there's no law that we can't do it again for breakfast today. Enjoy the company while you can. Is what I think. Ma giggled, and you could hear some rustling over the line. Thank you. I'll let them know and we'll be right over. Cliff gave a thumbs up. Cove shook his head with amusement. Dad just gave a thumbs up. I'm telling you since you can't see him over the phone. Kara snorted and Ma's laughter rang out. Filling the kitchen, Cliff switched the thumbs up hand to instead scratch the back of his head.
See you.
Well, it sounds like we'll see you soon. Goodbye for a little while. You could feel her smile from her voice. Bye, Ma. You ended the call with a satisfying tap of the red button. Cliff's eyes wandered around the space. We better get cooking.
Sounds good.
I can help. Just tell me what you're ranking. No way. Your guest. Kara and I have got this. She grinned. There was something playful in the twist of her lips.
Right.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Cliff. I've been in your spot before. There's no choice but to accept it. Cove sighed, but from the sparkle in his eyes, you could see that he was entertained. Fine. We'll just hang out over here, I guess. Good. Cove walked over to the living room and gestured at the couch. You both took a seat, getting a comfortable spot to wait for food and family. Cove tilted towards his parents with his chin, then shook his head with a gentle smile, silently asking if you could believe this. All you had was a silent shrug. Time passed, filled with light chatting. Cove kept a careful watch on his parents' culinary progress and teasingly kept a running commentary. Oh, Dad added another pinch of salt. I wonder if that was a good idea. Cliff had to raise his voice to project over the living room. He sounded very amused. It's funny that all of you people are commenting on my salt usage. We were both born and raised in salt water. Besides, I'm sure you remember back when you were about 12 and tried to make. Cove flustered slightly, but his smile remained as bright as ever. Do you really want to start talking about cooking mistakes, Dad? Because I remember a lot of things too. Like, what about that chowder that was supposed to be a pie? Cove and his family were quite a show to listen to. You chimed in occasionally, but mostly you provided the laugh track. Eventually, there was a rhythmic knock on the door.
Oh!
That's him. He said it loudly for his parents' benefit. You nodded and got up to greet your family. When you opened the door, surprisingly, there were no moms. Terry stood in front with Miranda at his side. Derek waved from behind them. Hey, buddies. We came to see you two before you left. The plan would have been to go over to Chippy's house next if he weren't here. If you weren't here. Luckily, you two aren't too hard to find. What he said, and hi. Cove burst into happy laughter. His brows were high in surprise, not unlike he looked after unwrapping a nice present. Wow, thanks for coming. Hello. Kara's voice carried through the house from the kitchen. Cliff likewise projected. Great, the whole gang will be here. You heard the sound of a cabinet open and shut. A pan clattered, and the faucet turned on.
Are we interrupting something?
Not really, but thanks for voicing your own lines. You were joining a breakfast party. My parents, sister, and cousin are coming over. We actually thought that you were them when you knocked. Yep. But my dad always makes a ton of food anyway. It's no problem for you guys to join. Cove waved off their concerns before pausing with a thoughtful hum. The only real problem is do we have enough places for all these people to sit? He peered back into the house and started counting the dining room table, chairs, and bar stools. 5, 6. Cliff interrupted when Cove began trying to use his fingers to connect the different chairs to different guests.
No worries.
Don't worry, some people can squash together on the sofas. It'll be fine. It really is gonna be a party. Well, I'd be happy to accept the invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to be crazy to skip out on this.
Thanks.
Thank you for making room. We're really glad that you came. Your three friends finally piled into the house. Before they had a chance to settle in, the doorbell rang. Only Miranda had sat down.
All right.
Now that has to be them. People laughed as he walked back over to the door and opened it up. He was right this time. It was your parents, Liz and Lee, all crowded on the front steps. They squatted into the house and were surprised at just how many greetings were said. The sheer force of the chorus of hellos was impressive.
What?
How did they beat us here? How early did Chippy call you? We're literally across the street. Terry snorted at your sister's confusion. He seemed quite pleased with himself. We were a surprise. We called ourselves.
Cool.
Very cool. Cliff smirked as he adjusted the settings on the stovetop. It's a little more crowded than expected, but we're making it work. Cove led the final group to complete the picture inside, and they took the chance to greet you along with everyone else. When the excited energy buzzing around the table started to calm, you had a second to truly appreciate this view. The most important people in your life all together again. It still felt too good to be true to have everyone here. And then you noticed that Mom 3 stood back up. She clapped her hands once in a satisfying smack.
Any whoosies?
I hate to interrupt, but I thought you'd want to know that the food's done cooking. Cliff crossed the floor to place a pile of silverware on the table and then dropped stuff off on the other surfaces around the rest of the living room. When he was done, he gestured towards the food.
Okay.
The plates are in the kitchen. Serve yourselves and sit wherever you like. The guests happily formed a line, and the meal was steadily passed around. Before long, each person claimed a seat in the whole living room area. Some at the table, others in the kitchen island, and some situated at the couches. Conversations trickled across the various clusters of friends as everyone dug in. Cole finished his plate in record time with a pleased sigh. He put his fork down and surveyed the room. This is really cool. Just how we're getting to do this kind of thing. I like this too, Cove. I hope we'll be able to make this happen again. Of course, there'll always be more reasons to get the game back together in the future. Yes, The two of you might even dare to celebrate your yearly anniversary. Gasp. Every year. The smirk on Lizzie's face grew only wider as your moms giggled at her teasing. Ma shook her head, chuckling softer now.
Shush.
Liz, shush.
True.
Honestly, we just might. You've made a good point. It does come around every year. You should. Seriously, you deserve a big celebration for your magical day. The kids are right. You've got a lot of people who want to appreciate you. You've got to give them a chance. It's true, I know I have a lot to thank you for. There were more nods of agreement around the room, and your moms took each other's hands for support. Neither were expecting so much encouragement. Well, we'll think about it. She'll think about it, and I'll tell Lonnie to stop thinking so hard if she doesn't agree. Pam,
Good.
good job, Mom. Now, with that settled, let us continue to enjoy this perfect gathering. I'm gonna go with the second one. Actually, who else being here would make this extra perfect? As amazing as this was, you couldn't help but think of absent faces in seconds. Everyone cautiously turned their attention to you. No, not Shiloh, not Jeremy. Shiloh is turned out to be a real jerk. Jeremy, he was a jerk when he was a kid. He's still a jerk, and he's become an emo boy. So yeah, I don't want that around here. Baxter, yeah, he's cool. And in fact, like I said, eventually they're gonna be doing having the DLCs for Baxter or Derek, so that you can get together with them, eventually. So let's pick Baxter. Yeah, he was staying in the condo next to the Holden house for summer vacation last time on step 3. He should be coming back to he should be coming back to visit on step 4. I think he's going to be helping out with the wedding or something. I mean, other than doing the deal, having his own DLC, of course. Cole turned to you with a generally thoughtful look. He rubbed his forearm while he composed his thoughts. I think I'd be up for seeing him again. It'd be kind of interesting to see what Baxter would be like now. Yeah, I think so too. He'd at least have a ball with everyone gathered today.
Ooh.
Yeah, Baxter was that cool guy with the eyes shirt and fancy rental car, right? I liked him. He was pretty nice. Yes, he was iconic. It's too bad he had to mysteriously disappear and never be heard from again. Well, like I said, he was only here for that summer vacation during step 3. But maybe that makes him more of an icon. Shiloh is another person who... no, definitely not. And definitely not Jeremy either. Like I said, you don't want those guys around. No. You can have things there. There was a playfulness in Kara's stare as she scanned the room. She slowly placed her index finger on her chin. Now that I think of it, there's something I haven't done in a while. Eyebrows were raised at Kara's complete thought. She was wordlessly urged to continue. Kara didn't hesitate. Look through all the photos Cliff has here. Wouldn't that be fun for all of us? What? Mom, why would you say that? Practically all those photos are of me.
Very cute.
And that's why embarrassing my baby boy is just one of the perks of being a mom. Much to Coves' dismay, his mom was thoroughly entertained at his outburst. She winked in your direction. Meanwhile, Cliff eagerly stood up with a wave of proud affection for his son and completely missed Kara's teasing intent.
Oh,
I think that's a great idea. Anyone else interested in the pictures?
Yeah.
I am. Lee shut her hand up before Cliff could even take a full step. Terry and Miranda snuck each other a glance before nodding with matching grins. That sounds swell.
That's fantastic.
That would be lovely, Cliff. Mom tried to hide her amusement behind her hand, but she couldn't stop the snicker that slipped out. Oh boy. I've seen them all before, but they never get old. Yeah, I remember, I think, wasn't it step 3 or something that he had the photos on his phone, and he was showing the picture of him back when he was 8 for Halloween. His dad dressed him up as a zombie because he just got his cast off and he had the scars, so he wanted to show it off. Really? Oh, I bet there's some real gems in there. I hope there's baby pics. Don't worry, you won't be disappointed. Cove buried his face in his hands and sighed. Slowly, his shoulders deflated in defeat. Fine. We could take a look. Everyone happy with picture time? Yay.
Fun!
Yes. They both excitedly raised a fist in victory. Smaller cheers from your friends and family worked their way around the room. And even you bounced up to your feet excitedly. Cliff flipped open his faded album of physical pictures. He held it up to his face. The corners of his eyes crinkled, and though the book covered much of his face, you were certain he was smiling fondly. But he didn't keep it to himself long. Laying the family album on the dining table, you and the rest of the party gathered around to get a peek. The first picture on the page was baby Cove in a cute little onesie. There were several coos and ahs from the group, and Cliff's eyes were shiny with tears as he sniffled. Yeah, all babies are cute, right? He's grown so much. Cove was such a cute kid. You're darn right he was. And he still is. You caught Cliff whipping a tear away from his cheek with a quick swipe of the back of his hand. He nodded, reaffirming Kyra's parental pride. Your gaze slid over to Cove next. Despite his objections minutes ago, there was a gentle smile planted on his face. He seemed much more relaxed, pointing out different pictures and sharing related stories to the willing ears near him. After breakfast, the photo showcase, everyone decided to stick around. Hanging around Mr. Holden's house turned into taking a walk around the neighborhood, and then for lunch you switched over to your mom's condo. It was really a good time, enjoying each other's company, but eventually the sun began to set, and there was nothing else to delay your friends and family from going home. Inside your mom's house, the home you had been raised in, the group was taking their time saying their goodbyes. It was tough for you, your family, and your friends. You knew that what was weighing on the mood. It might be some time before you'd see one another again. It was a pleasure having you all here. You're all welcome to come and come around again anytime. Mom wrapped an arm around Mom with a light chuckle. Mom leaned her head gently into her wife, and they both beamed.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I know we're all adults with our own hectic lives, but we appreciate the time taken to visit. Snorting, Liz crossed her arms. She leaned one hip out to the side while her lips curled teasingly. You make it sound like this was such a struggle. Some of these people still live here, and it was a vacation for everyone else. Even so, it was very thoughtful, and I hope everyone has a safe trip home. Kyra clapped a hand on Cliff's shoulder. He was puzzled as she leaned in so he could hear her. That means you too. It's dangerous crossing the street. Remember to look both ways. Really? We're adults here. Come on, really? It's probably just teasing anyway. Hey now. Yeah. Good luck with all the important grown-up things I'm sure you'll have to do when you're all out of here. Definitely. I'll give updates next time something exciting happens or something lame so I can vent about it. How nice. I'm glad Lee won't be forgetting the little people. Never ever. Mm-hmm. I'll keep in touch too.
Very nice.
You better. Well, me and Randa aren't going far, so we can keep an eye on the town for the rest of you. Nothing will get past us. Right. We'll make sure everything is okay. No need to worry at all.
Thanks.
That's kind of you. Miranda and Terry gave each other pleased smiles, already commenting to their self-appointed task. Derek scratched the back of his head, wearing a pensive look. It's always sad when I have to leave this town. It happens too often, but at least there will be people looking out for Sunset Bird. That makes me feel better about it. After a pause, Mr. Holden gave the younger folks a thumbs up.
Great.
That's all great. You got a lot to be proud of, and a lot to be looking forward to. Well said, Cliff. I'm thankful that I've been privileged to witness the growth you've undergone over the years. You've each matured beautifully. Cove was touched by his parents' words and struggled to come up with something to follow. Yeah. It's been good seeing everyone. No one had taken a step yet, and you couldn't put this off any longer. It was time to say goodbye. I'll see you again. And soon. Lee put her hands on her hips. Miranda and Terry gave you a similar, confident looks.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's gonna be a free weekend somewhere. I know it won't be everyone, but some are better than none. A calming wave of tingles watched over you after seeing their reactions. You knew it wouldn't have to be too long before someone made the trek out for a short visit. A lot. Afterwards, there were more sniffling and hugs. A lot of hugs. Then people started trailing out to the street, seeing others off. Your friends and family got in their cars and left the neighborhood. By the time things had fully settled, you realized that the sun had set. Earlier, you and Cove decided on having a car pick you both up. Neither of you wanted to bother your parents after such a long day. It would be a little while longer before it would be there, though. It was the right choice as both sets of parents shot you weary looks. The four seemed ready to call it a night. It didn't take either of you or Cove very long to assure them that it was okay to head home and go to bed. With more round of goodnight and goodbyes, your family returned to the condos. Then the only people left on the street were you and Cove. Cove closed his eyes, humming happily, while he waited for it to pass. He stared up at the sky. The moment was comforting, but suddenly your face scrunched up, bemused. Something was wrong. Something that made you feel somewhat empty. And then it dawned on you. Your wind chime wasn't here anymore. The feeling of the wind washing over the street just wasn't right without that familiar tone. But you had taken it with you in the move. With a bittersweet smile, you knew that you'd be able to hear it again when you got home. Cove's hands were in his pockets and his shoulders were relaxed when he caught your attention with a tilt of his head.
So,
Can you guess what I'm thinking? Well, at that moment you were in the neighborhood you grew up in, together with some time to spare. The corner of your mouth curled into a grin. Cove made things too easy for you. That the fireflies are out?
right.
Do you want to go to the poppy hill before we leave? Always. There was an eager bounce in your step as you and Cove crossed over towards the hill behind your mom's house. Side by side, you stared out at the view in awe. As you imagined, the hill was dotted with glowing firefly light. It perfectly reflected the memories of childhood held closely in your mind. Cove sighed contentedly, seeing them across the hill, waving in around the blades of black grass and the stars above. Cove cocked his head to the side before his expression twisted playfully. When he met your eye, you were about to prod him about what he was on his mind when he took off running. I bet I'll catch one first. You went chasing after the next firefly that caught your eye. A practically bright firefly zipped past your face, and you couldn't let it go. You chased after it all over the hill. Every so often, you and Cove would pass by each other, moving in opposite directions. This time, you gave his shoulder a light shove to get his attention. Any luck? Not yet. The pursuit for fireflies continued until a handful had been caught. Cove crossed over to you with a bright grin that could reveal every twinkling bug and star around you. Cupped between both of his hands, Cove carefully held a firefly. The corner of his mouth twisted before a few giggles escaped him, and you knew that the feeling well. The way the firefly would buzz around, tickling the palms of your hands. Cove's eyelids fluttered open, meeting yours. He watched you with a completed mix of emotions. Oh, complicated? Yeah, complicated mix of emotions. Every heavy with the weight of 15 years of history of memories. It's really a relief that I got to see the fireflies. This trip wouldn't have felt complete without it. You're so right. The light breeze tousled your hair. Content you were grateful that Cove made this suggestion. If we hadn't done this, I would have felt like something was missing once I got home. Me too. Taking a deep breath, Cove held your eye. He appeared to be conflicted about what he wanted to say next, and you waited for him to make his choice. It's so strange not to live here anymore. Most of my life, neither of us were ever really away from Sunset Bird. Well, unless one of us went on a trip somewhere. Or when both of our families took trips together. Remember that? He chuckled, losing himself to fun reminiscing. You couldn't help but matching his grin. I like that road trip one a lot, though. I didn't think we could squash into that RV again. We're way too big. Laughing Cove shook his head, his brow creased the longer he sat with the thoughts of spinning in his brain. Those visits back then with my mom, I remember what a big deal they felt like then. To be away from here without anyone else coming for a whole few weeks. Oh, how little I knew. I'm gonna go with the first one. Hey, what did you tell your mom about me when you were on those trips to see her? Thrown a little off kilter, Cove hadn't been expecting that question at all. Both of his eyebrows raised, and a part of you wondered if you had somehow spoken gibberish instead. Honestly, I've been wondering about it since I was 13. Kara always kept the details to herself, and you never said a word either.
Well,
Cove couldn't meet your stare for a second longer. Eventually, he turned away, and his voice grew smaller. Mostly, I'd tell her about the times we'd hang out, but I knew I was pretty enthusiastic when I was because you are someone really special to me. And I admitted that much to my mom. Not sure if I used the word crush exactly, but she knew what were you were the highlight of my young life. and you look and you look at that and look at that, you still are. He delivered that final thought earnestly, enough that you stopped breathing altogether. Cove beamed at you, pleased with his confession. Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you for being my favorite story. Excuse me. After that, Cove became quiet, simply gazing into your face. The way the lights around sparkled in his eyes reminded you of moonlight reflecting off the waves in the ocean. There was a depth to it that you could hardly grasp. A part of you felt compelled to speak, to do something, but you were entrenched. Cove held you completely in place, as much as the firefly. His next words came out as a whisper. I love fireflies. Every time I see them, it makes me happy. It makes me think of you. The lasting eye contact finally broke as Cove let his eyes shift towards the hill. The fireflies and you are linked together in my head so strongly because of all the time you've spent together with them. All the time we spent together with them, and because they're kind of like the feelings I have for you on the inside, made real, soft, warm light that's fluttery and tingly and all around me. He faced you completely once more. His eyes were glossy and even flutter with abandonment, abundant affection. Cove then opened his hands, holding the fireflies settled there towards you. He was wholeheartedly offering it to you. The significance of the gesture wasn't lost on you. After he confessed that fireflies truly meant what fireflies truly meant to him, he closed his eyes sorely through all the emotions you were certain were swirling around inside him. You knew that night years ago, the one after the Orca event where I snuck into your room with a firefly. Oh yeah, I remember that one. It's where I told him that I love him, and he said it back. I wanted to tell you what I said here
I'm always like this.
about what fireflies meant about the feelings I have for you, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not directly, but at least it was implied a little bit. He shifted his feet, remembering his prior shyness, brought out a sheepish contentedness in Cove during the present. Then Cove's stuttering laughter burst out from the tension. It's pretty lucky for me that you decided to do it yourself. Skipped. Okay. I cannot even decide how shocked I was when that actually happened. It was like you just knew all the words I hadn't been able to speak. But his nervous giggles finally settled out as Mark contemptibly contemplative tone came to his voice. Sorry, I'm having trouble with some of these words. Doing the best I can. It's time. This time it's my turn. There's more I want to say tonight. He had been speaking to you so familiarly, so sweetly, but then his tone became hard. It was more serious than you'd ever heard in your long history together. Chippy, I promise you'd I always be there whenever you wanted. I meant it then. I still mean it now. I mean it more than ever. Cove. He may not have said it directly, but you had gotten the message clearer than if he had shouted it from the rooftops, and Cove knew it. I'm gonna go with this one. Your eyes begin to water. Cove's legs shook despite talking straight. His entire body had gone rigid. He winced while trying to force his joints to actually move. Your feet remained locked in place, churning in your own sea of emotions, giving Cove the time he needed. Ultimately, Cove gracefully dropped down into both of his knees with a muted thud. His head was hung low in embarrassment as he clung into your plants to stop from falling over entirely. Cove muted, mumbled what you thought was an apology, though how he carried himself meant it was directed at the ground. You still couldn't move from that spot. Keeping a tight grip, he was able to awkwardly swift a leg lower so that he was being propped up on just one knee. There was a pause. And then he looked up at you with eyes as blue as and wide as the sea and just as wet. He realized your clothes. He released your clothes instead to put his hands over his heart. Chippy. In a small, fragile voice, he spoke.
I love you.
I mean, so much. You mean so much to me. I don't even know what life would be without you. Tears fell heavily, and the words dropped out as painfully. I'm sorry. Have I ever been able to handle a major romantic moment in our relationship well? You don't have to answer that. He laughed briefly. It was almost more of a wheeze. I've never made things easy, especially when growing up. Life was hard for me, and so I made things harder for everyone else. But you were always so good to me, no matter what. And I've loved you for so many years. He continued to sniffle as he made a few false continuations of inaudible, intangible stammering. Eventually, Cove found what he wanted to say next. Thank you for being my boyfriend. Thank you for sending packages when I had to go away to my mom's house. Thank you for defending me from Jeremy. Thank you for putting up with me when I panic about stuff outside of my control. Thank you for trying to share the loft with me instead of having to sleep on the floor when we went on that trip with our families. And sorry I got you caught. Oh yeah, that time that we almost kissed and he hurt her his head because he got caught off guard and got embarrassed. Yeah. Cove's eyelids squeezed shut in an attempt to stop himself from rumbling further. You continued to cry. Oops. Wrong one. There we go. Cove's outpouring of gratitude commuted commuted in the final piece of appreciation.
Thanks for waiting for me.
And thank you for being such a patient person. I know I kept you waiting so long. He took in a slow, controlled breath, then, without stuttering or stopping, said the words out loud.
Will you marry me?
Chippy Prince, will you marry me? I will. There's nothing else I want more. Cove collapsed forward, catching himself with his hands before landing, face first into the grass. The poppies around his face fluttered from his grand sigh of relief. Oh my God, thank you. Eyes filled with fresh tears, he lifted his head back up to smile at you with all the love in the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that's all I've been saying this whole time. I'm sorry, but just thank you for being here and for being the one I get to be with. Somehow, all you could think was that it was him, Cove Holden, the man you loved, and now the person you were going to marry. These moments really get emotional. I love you. Then you pulled him into a kiss. Or yes, no, let's go with this one. You got down on the grass and kissed him. You couldn't hold back any longer. You laughed yourself. You launched yourself at him and knocked Cove over on impact. He laid it flat on his back. Now his eyes were wide, but swiftly pulled you against him as close as he could get, despite desperate to feel you. You leaned forward and kissed your fiancé. He kissed you back lovingly, and you could feel the smile on his face. The place where you met, where you grew, where you fell in love, was now the place you were, where you shared your life together truly began. I know, this is where we first met Cove, on this hill. And we spent a lot of time here on this hill. So I think this is a good place to actually have the wedding, you know? I know there's a lot of choices they gave you of places where you can have the wedding. But I think this would be the best choice right here on the Poppy Hill, because it's where they met. And they spent some time here on this hill, quite a bit of time on this hill together growing up. Also, it's where he now proposed to us, or even in the last moment I proposed to him on this hill. So either way, I think it's a good choice. Your eyes drifted closed to let yourself experience it, to anchor yourself in this moment and hold on for as long as possible. The both of you never wanted to let go. You were certain of it. The rest of your days would be spent side by side. It was all you'd hoped for. When the swirling of excitement of your new engagement relaxed back into more familiar style of gentle comfort, your relationship brought Cove stood up. He lifted you along with him. Oh, and I do have a ring too, if you want that. It's just, sentimentality. The firefly felt better to me. You were thrilled hearing he'd gotten you an engagement ring. Cove chuckled bashfully, picking a stray strand of grass off his pants. You were thrilled by the turn of events that unfolded here. Your dream had been for Cove to propose, and he never disappointed you. Suddenly, Cove, now wide eyes, snapped to yours. How are we going to tell people we're leaving early in the morning and it's really late now? Should we try talking? Should we try talking before we go? Excuse me. I gotta go use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. And we already read this part, so let's skip to the next. The two of you put your heads together to come up with some kind of decision for this predicament.
Maybe.
Maybe we could try calling your mom's house phone. If they hear it, that it mean they haven't really gone to bed yet. They don't. If they don't, they probably won't even know it rang. Calling their cell phones might wake them up. And I could do the same for Dad's house. Good idea. Luckily they still have landlines. In sync, you and Cove dug out your cells and began to call the respective homes of your families. Cove stepped to the side as his father presumably picked up. You couldn't pay attention to his words for long as Mom answered your call next.
Hello.
Prince Residence, how can I help you? Hi, Mom, it's me. I wanted to see if you were awake without bothering you, if you'd gone to bed. Yeah, who raised such a thoughtful person? I'm impressed. She chuckled at her own commitment while getting quieter. You could tell she was putting her face away from the receiver. Lonnie, Chippy is on the phone. When she spoke again, it came in loud and clear. She was coming on over. She's coming on over.
Oh!
Oh, You twisted your head to the side after hearing Coves' exclamation and saw him tap on his screen to switch things to speaker mode. Say hi to Mom, Dad and Mom. Chippy is here, and so are his moms, sort of. They're on the phone too. You quietly followed Cove's move and let your moms be on speaker. Hey, Prince family. Good evening, ladies. Hello, it's nice to hear from you. Agreed, even though it's unexpected. What's happening, kiddos? The thing is, we, wait, I'm gonna call Liz, Pam. Get your phone and you call Lee. What? You don't have to do that. I want to, sweetie. This is news they're gonna enjoy hearing, isn't it? I'm certain they won't mind. I mean...
All right.
Hey, in that case, Kara and I could call your friends. I've got their numbers. Seriously? Of course. They've all had to call me plenty of times to try and reach you whenever you misplaced your phone or forgot to charge it. Dad? Oh, that's perfect. While unexpected having everyone on the line, you would make sharing the news easy. Your parents got to work, leaving the old landlines on while they used their cells to call Lee, Liz, Miranda, and Terry's apartment, and Derek, respectively. Every call went through, and soon your whole main group was on the line, and they were expecting answers. There was no putting it off. Well, Cove's got an announcement. He sputtered a string of syllables and then he cleared his throat. All false starts he thought better of. You could feel his brain turning. Cove deciding the best way to approach this. His brows furrowed deep, and then with his expression and tone serious, he finally got it out without a trace of hesitation. We're getting married. Chippy and I are engaged. Cove reached over to take your hand as a physical sign of your union. Even though no one could see it, it made him feel better. The hill filled with cheers of congratulations. You heard Terry's distinctive whoop, and your moms start to joyfully whisper to each other away from the receiver. Lee squealed and Kara cooed. There was no confession or need for pause. Everyone in your life was immediately on board with your plans. Cove turned his head and beamed at you, excitement in his smile. It was coupled with a fond squeeze to your hand. You grinned back at him.
I'm so glad.
I'm proud of you, Cove. And two of you are going to be happy. I'm sure of it. Dad. Cove sniffled, his eyes wide and emotional. Yeah, I will be. Both of us will be. Kara spoke up gently.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so wonderful to my baby. I'm lucky and grateful that you're going to be a part of my life forever. Well put, Kara. Chippy is a keeper, for sure. Your family couldn't stay quiet for long and began to chime in. I can't believe how grown up you are, but I couldn't be happier with how it all happened. Congratulations, Chippy. You're one of the smartest cookies there are. You're making an amazing life for yourself.
Seriously?
This is totally amazing. You're seriously getting married. It's like we're real adults and all that. Yeah, it almost be hard to believe that my baby brother is marrying a person. You know, if Cove wasn't such an obvious choice as a husband for you. Her tone turned abnormally gentle. You're doing good. Thanks for the positive rating.
You're welcome.
Lee giggled and your moms had some chuckles. Cove stood awkwardly, not entirely sure if he or Liz was being laughed at. Your three friends had stayed silent. You believed that they were intentionally giving your families a chance to have a moment. But once they said their pieces, it didn't take long for your friends to jump into the conversation excitedly. Congratulations on the engagement. It's crazy how we're really at this point of our lives. Somehow, some days it feels like high school was yesterday.
So great.
But it's great. You both are definitely Sunset Bird's best couple. Terry added on eagerly. You are the aspiration. I'm stoked that you're gonna be official. This is a big step, but I'd say you more than earned it with everything you've been through over the years. You both deserve to be with each other for the rest of your lives. Cove had appeared weepy before, but this sealed it. He cried. Erwin's words had built up and castled into Cove's shedding the happiest tears you'd seen. Thank you. Those were people you cared deeply about, and they were so happy from your engagement. It was heartwarming. Good luck, kiddos. You've got a journey ahead of you. Cliff agreed with a chuckle. They've known each other for 15 years already and still haven't gotten sick of each other yet. How hard could making it work for the rest of their lives be?
It's no trouble.
For the two of them, not difficult at all. I'm gonna go with a third one. You better come around again for the actual wedding. You kidding me? I'll be the first one there. Liz snorted through her phone. I'll be there even if you forget to send me an invitation. You don't get to escape me that easy. Wait, is that your way of inviting us to your wedding? Cove glanced at you and shrugged. He didn't have a problem with it. It was efficient. Everyone on the call should be invited to the wedding anyway. Why am I surprised? Everyone started laughing to your satisfaction. It seemed like they had already started playing to be guests. But ultimately, the night was growing late, and the many phone calls all had to come to an end. After goodbyes were shared, you were left with just one another again in the quiet space of Poppy Hill. I think that was nice. Me too.
Well,
We have to go to the hotel now, huh? Yeah. Yeah, you took one last look at everything around you, breathing in the summer air. Ocean salt tickled your nose. Take care of the hill for us, little fireflies. Trailing the few steps behind Cove, you looked back down the hill. You spotted your childhood home immediately. I'm grateful we could come home here and see how things are without us. It was nice.
yeah.
It really was. With Cove right there along with you, you made your way down the hill, with the same stars above trailing the way. Your last night in Sunset Bird was closing out. You were lost deep within a dream, adrift in the current of your unconscious mind. Cove was with you, even there, with his presence strong as your mind fluttered from scene to scene, the logic of the conscious world melting around you. Something jolted you from your slumber. The visions you'd constructed slipping away, even as you scrambled to catch them. It had been a good dream. You opened your eyes to an unlit, unfamiliar ceiling. The darkness permeated the room so thoroughly that you were sure it was still the middle of the night. As your eyes adjusted to what little light there was to catch onto, a smiling face cozied itself right above you. There he was. Good morning, Chippy. The grin was bright enough to make it seem like maybe the sun had risen after all. Okay. I'm gonna go with the third one. Oh, it's my dream come true, you cooed. Naturally, you weren't surprised to see him, but that didn't stop you from enjoying it every time. His expression softened at your voice. The tender affection in his gaze obvious despite the dim space. You kissed him. Propping yourself up on your elbows, you leaned towards him. Cove read the intent of your movement and bent down, meeting you halfway in a kiss. Would you have preferred me to wake you up by tapping on the window? Maybe. Cove simply smirked, amused by his own wit.
Come on.
I mean, you really should have expected this was going to happen. Fine, shame on me because you got me more than once. I know he came into our window more times than anything. And we only went into his place once through the window, and then got caught by his dad, which turned out to be an embarrassing moment. Way more than once. All right, you woke me up for something. Give me your pitch, and I'll see if it's better than sleeping. Well, this is our last day here. Everyone might still be asleep, but if we get up now, we can at least see the neighborhood. Do you want to? With you, definitely.
All right.
Great. Then he held out one of his hands to help you get up, too. You took it. Cole's grip was strong as his fingers closed around yours. He pulled you, tugging you up with ease. Before you could head out, you and Cove both needed to get dressed. You did so quietly. The strangeness of the hour meant that your body seemed less coordinated than usual. Each article of clothing a new puzzle, but you managed it. The two of you were eventually ready to head out into the wide world. Dawn still hadn't broken when you left the hotel, yet was easy enough to get a ride down into Sunset Bird. The journey was peaceful. You might have expected sleep to attempt to calm you once again. The sky still so dark, but Cove's excited energy was infectious. Morning was finally starting to come over Sunset Bird as you arrived, almost like the sun itself wanted to be there to welcome you. Cove turned towards you, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. One more summer beach trip? You were sorely tempted to tease him, but his eager expression was just too pure. Sure, one more. You could even taken your time getting there, dawdling under the morning sun, or you could have taken the short walk at the regular pace. And both of those would have been just right for some other occasion, but this time, without either of you saying a word, you and Cove set off sprinting. The two of you tore gleefully down the street towards the beach, as excited as ungriningly as the kids you'd once been. You were laughing with joy at the absurdity of it all. Being here at the break of dawn with a boy who you once discovered on the nearby hill, who never completely grew up. As it was still early, you did your best to keep the noise down. To the side, you saw Cove covering his mouth to stifle his own giggles, summarily aware of people sleeping in the condos around you. You thought of what the mean old nut grandparents would have said if they could see you now. All you could do was continue running and stumbling down towards the beach, away from the residents and their sleeping occupants. It was only a few minutes before you arrived at the expensive ocean shore. Cove kicked off his shoes and strode right into the water, not stopping until his feet were entirely submerged and the waves tickled his ankles. You got into the water with him. After slipping your shoes off, you let the sea flow over you. It was cool against your skin, but not as cold as when the wave pulled back and your wet feet were exposed to the air again. The two of you stood there watching as the sun continued its ascent over the horizon. Silence fell between you until dawn had fully broken. Even then, Cove spoke in a whisper.
Wow.
I can't believe it's over. How are we already at this point? It all went by too fast. A ghost of a smile crept over Cove's face, like the sun peeking out between clouds on an overcast day. He looks pretty handsome here. Cove reached out and envelop your hand in his, pressing your palms together tightly. The silence returned just for a second. I'm glad we came this morning and that we came on this whole visit back.
I'm so glad.
But more than anything, I'm glad for ending up in this town in the first place, where I got to grow up with a really nice neighbor. I wouldn't have wanted it any other life. I'm most grateful for meeting you too. Emotions. Cove looked over at you out of the corner of his eyes, not turning his face away from the sea. His expression was full of affection, from the gentle curve of his smile to his clear, contented brow. It was a stark contrast to the tears rolling down his cheeks.
I love you.
I love you. You counted yourself lucky, even though you were leaving now. This place had gifted you with so much that you carry with you wherever life might take you. The memories you made, the lessons you learned, the people you built relationships with. You kept those pieces of your life in Sunset Bird forever. You stood with Cove, silently watching as bright rays swept away the last of the night's shadows until the day truly arrived. Your spirits were high as the sun rose higher in the sky. I'm going to turn up the music a little bit because I do like this music. Maybe a little bit more. Still kind of low. Yeah, that's good enough. I believe I already read this part, so I'll skip to the next one. The two you had found yourselves meandering back to the neighborhood street on sandy feet, strolling down the path just as you'd done 1,000 times before. This was where it all started. You were compelled to look at the exact spot you'd first encountered Mr. Holden, sitting dejecting on the curb. He wasn't sat there anymore. He wasn't like that anymore. Oh. Some of these moments get so emotional, I swear. But I love doing it, and I love sharing it with you guys. Still, you couldn't forget the day it began, just as you couldn't believe that what an adventure it led to. Things had never been the same since that moment. You couldn't be happier for it. Your mental lingering on that meeting had turned physical, causing you to stop in your tracks. It was only when you heard Cove's voice calling your name that you remembered when you were and realized what you'd done. In that present, it was a shining sun, a clear blue sky, and Cove James home. Oh. And Cove James Holden by your side. All that most natural things in the world. So, what's the next step? You watch Cove expectantly waiting for him to guide you forward from here. There was a crinkle around his eyes as he laughed. It's up to you now. You give me way too much power. Aren't you worried about it going to my head? Cole smirked, shaking his head.
It's okay.
Don't worry about it. I'm listening, so go ahead. His eyes met yours, hurling your gaze. I believe in you, Chippy. No matter how much time might pass, there were some things that you could count on to be constant. Cove, your family, his family, and all your other loved ones being there for you when you needed it. It was one of those things since the beginning and for always. Damn. Knowing they were there, you would never truly be alone made the future look all that much brighter. Want to find somewhere to make out? You were teasing him with that call, of course, but so much reminiscing about growing up had made you yearn for him. After all, Sunset Bird had given you Cove. You wanted to enjoy both of them together. Cole spluttered out a laugh. Chippy. He covered his mouth with his hands, staring at you over them with wide eyes. So you don't want to? He slowly lowered his hands, his gaze flickering shyly between you and the ground. No, that'd be perfect. Your days growing up in Sunset Bird had been so wonderful. Even the prospect of leaving again made your chest ache. Yet you weren't going to let that stop you. It wouldn't be hard, but you knew that it would still be there, waiting whenever you wanted to return. Facing Cove, who'd been by your side though through it all, you knew that one day you'd look back on those moments. Now just as fondly as you reminisced about your childhood growing up here. Each happy moment You experience becoming only a memory of what used to be, but that was what life was, and it was okay. As it was from the beginning and continuing that way for always. Life took another step forward. There you go. Thank you for playing. That's the end of it. Be sure to stay tuned for step 4 when that comes out. I'll be doing that for you guys, and also the DLCs when those come out as well. I want to thank you all for watching on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Also, if you really enjoy and appreciate me making these videos for you, I would really appreciate it if you could go to my Patreon account and become a Patreon contributor. All the money that goes in there goes directly to charity. I don't see a penny of it. It just goes directly to charity. And if you become a $25 tier if you become a contributor, of course, 25 tier contributors, sorry, then you get to choose all the uncensored moments that from like Camp Buddy and the most recent one from Our Life Beginnings and Noise, which was the bonus moment. We might see more of the uncensored from Our Life. It'll probably come out either on a DLC or probably another bonus moment. Who knows? But if it does, I'll let you guys know, and it'll only be available. The uncensored parts will only be available to those who become a $25 tier contributor on my Patreon, of course, because that was set up for adult content anyway. And you could post in there what uncensored moments you're actually looking for. Like with Camp Buddy, you have to state what route you're looking for, like Yuichi route or Hunter route or Tiger route or Natsumi route. I'm not going to be doing the hero route. Like I said, I don't like that guy. He's too much of a jerk, and he's always being totally jealous towards Caterwell being friends with everybody. So I'm not going to be doing him. Again, you can find the link to my Patreon account within the description area just below this video. So with that in mind, I want to thank you again for watching. Let's see, where do we go? Okay, configure, let's see, window. Hello. Yep, it's still recording sound. Good, that's good. Yesterday I had a problem with this mic, I think, or the audio. I'm not sure what was going on, but anyway, I'll see you later. Hopefully I'll be doing Camp Buddy returning to the Hunter route tomorrow, hopefully. In the meantime, I will see you guys later.